Exercise 802 looks at simple interest. Now, I'm fairly confident that most of you will have come across the formula for simple interest before. Just a couple of points. If you've had older brothers and sisters do this similar course, you may be aware that this formula was previously given on the formula sheet. That is no longer the case. Starting from your year, this formula doesn't appear on the formula sheet, so it's a formula you have to learn. You also have to learn how to use it and when to use it. You won't necessarily be told to use this formula, so you're going to be needing to pick up on key words in questions. There's no explanation for you about the components, which was previously given to students. If you look at the formula, you can see that it has 4 pronumerals. We've got to think really algebraically for a big part of this exercise. Think algebra, think equation. Your equation has a subject. The subject is I, and that obviously represents the simple interest that's earned. So this calculation here, P times R times N, we know there are multiplication signs between those because that's the only mathematical operation that is left out, the multiplication. In all, you can see that there are 4 pronumerals. So obviously this formula could be used to calculate I. This formula could also be used to calculate P. Now remember, that would mean you would have to have a number for I, a number for R, and a number for N. But it is possible. We would be solving an equation then. We would be solving for P. Likewise, the same for R and for N. Let's have a little bit closer look at the formula. Now thinking a bit more mathematically, less algebraically, more mathematically. I is the interest, and it's probably best to be expressed in dollars. P is the amount invested, and again, use dollars. R is the rate. Now, we've got 2 complications to the rate. The rate must be, as these notes say, a decimal. So it won't usually be given as a decimal. It's more commonly given, for example, as you can see here, 12%. It is sometimes given and it looks like a decimal because it's got a decimal point in it. However, this is not the decimal form for the rate. Why not? Because it has a percentage sign on it. So you're really paying attention to finer detail. The presence of that percentage sign there is really important because it tells you that this rate is not in the decimal form yet. It's in its percentage form, however it contains a decimal point in it. So that's one complication, that the rate must be a decimal. And we've got another concept called the period. That's the time, the period. Now, it appears in the formula as the letter N. It's most commonly expressed as years, and everything's great if the period or the time, so think of period as time. If the time is given in years, the investment's for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. If the rate is given in years, and the abbreviation for years when it comes to rate is PAs, per annums. Excuse me. If they're both in the same unit, years, or they're both given per month or per quarter, then we don't have a problem. we can use the numbers straight into the formula. So if they're not given in the same units, you've got to adjust one to match the other unit. So you might be matching, your rate might be given in years, your time or your period might be given in months. You might adjust your months and express it in terms of years. So this does get a little bit messy, and there's a lot for you to concentrate on now and a lot for you to learn now. This is the time for learning it. So R must be given as a decimal. As you can see here, a little example is 12% per annum would become as a decimal. Move the decimal point back 2 places. And notice there's no percentage sign here. It's now in decimal form. Per annum, per year. 1.5%, move the decimal point back 2 places, which will require an additional 0. So this rate, if it's given as 1.5% per annum, becomes 0.015 as a decimal per annum. No percentage sign. We're going to practice exactly the same format for how we approach our solution as we have previously. We will begin each answer by underlining and then stating the information given in the question. State it, say what it represents. I'll stop the video there and do the example in a separate video.